Hello, everybody. We have Matthew again. He's back to talk about Studio 64, the music program for the Commodore 64. Go, Matthew.
Yes, we are back to talking about music again because we had the samples from earlier today, and then we also had MIDI and Sid playing from Travis. So we're going back to when we first learned how to create music with the Studio 64. Now, as you know, the SID chip has a lot of capability, and in many respects, the SID chip has become a genre of music itself, that a lot of people are now listening to SID music, and Travis talked a little bit about, what's the name of that? It's Deep SID. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about Deep SID because actually you can find Studio 64 music on Deep SID.
What? See, I don't know anything about Deep SID.
Yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we created music with Studio 64. Now, I demoed it 2 years ago, but the advantage I brought today is I now have a keyboard to go with the C64 Mini, and my neighbor over here has one of those as well. And I'm going to say that's a really good solution, like if you want to get back into Commodore computing and you don't want to have to go out and buy a full-size C64 and have to recap it and do all the maintenance that goes with it. This is a nice little solution. I think sometimes I think the retro games, they're the ones who produce it. Sometimes these are really hard to find now, but it is a really good solution. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Studio 64. Whoops. Of course, the real challenge is typing when you can't read what you're typing. I'm a good touch typer. I'm not that good. Now, what this is the first version of Studio 64. Came out about '83, and it did have quite a few basic features to it. It's let's go ahead and bring in some music, and then I can show you a little bit about. Okay, so let's bring in one of the songs that came with Studio 64. And it was funny because I believe Travis was playing Sweet Dreams a little bit earlier today. It was a different version, so I was trying to get this spun up so we can have maybe a little duet. So let me show you a little bit about what the music looks like. Now, here are your SID 3 voices, and for each of those, it's designed to be, enter music and musical notation, so you get a treble clef or a great, and again, it's designed to, it looks like a music staff, and then you can go ahead and, for some reason, it is not showing the notes. So I don't know if I cleared it out by entering it or what I did, but
Try loading it again? Loading in the music?
well, let's find out first of all if it will play. Okay. Well, I could demo something else, and that is how to enter music on Studio 64. Because what Studio 64 does is it turns these two rows of your keyboard into the black and white notes of a keyboard. And I think there was actually a company that did an overlay that went on top of your C64 64 with white and black keys.
Oh yeah,
You can use that.
the incredible musical keyboard.
Yes. So it goes ahead and you can use that as your white and black keys. And this is their help system. So
How did you get help?
you got help by pressing plus.
Oh, plus.
Yeah. Again, these are the early days of computers. We did not have standards. There wasn't such a thing as pressing F1 will bring up help. So this is what we had with it. And then, so, let's see. So the notes, again, the keys represent. So here's your C. And when you keep pressing the key, it increases the duration of the note. And you can go all the way to a full note. So these are Petsky characters.
That's a full note right there.
That's a full note. Now,
Okay.
there was a second version of Studio 64. I've been trying to come up, I've been racking my brains and searching my place at home. I know I have it, but what they were able to do with the second version was they used actual graphics so you actually got to see graphical notes. So, but this is the version that I was able to find, but it works the same way. So, let's put in a little melody here.
All right.
Let's try some new music here. So, as you notice, I went up and put in C sharp.
Yeah.
And then for rest, you enter those with the space bar.
Oh, look at that.
And you can repeat duration by continuing to press. And then you play it back by,
Yeah.
let's see, I could probably go longer in the duration. So. And you can also set the time, the speed of playback too. And if you want to press two notes in a row, you could press the minus key. And then that indicates the start of a new note. So let's see how that goes.
And what key do you press for playback?
You press the pound key, but since we don't have a pound key because, as you know, the keyboard layout of the C64 is different from a standard PC. So in this case it maps to the backsplash key.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is play the riff for That Not Like Us.
Oh.
But I don't think it's fair to diss Drake with a piece of software that's older than he is. So. But the other thing is that Studio 64 has some editing capabilities. So you can select a start of a range you go to your first note and you press F2. And then you go to the end of the block, and you press F8 to end the selection, and then you press 8 again, F8 again, paste. So we repeated the passage.
Paste.
So that's and you can go in and backspace and add, like if we wanted to go back and let's say we wanted backspace and we wanted to put in a longer rest. So, it makes it really easy to go through and edit your music. And then what you would have to do, if you wanted, again, this was a limitation of the software, is if you wanted to put in a melody, you would have to go into the second voice and enter the notes for that. Now, the way that, now when you're entering music, you can change between the 4 basic waveforms. Because you have triangle, and then you have sawtooth. And pulse. And then we also have noise. And this was, I think we were talking about it before in your percussion demo. This is how you add the percussion noises.
Yeah.
And so you can go through and add music for all 3 of your voices. Now, I'm going to try entering, let's try loading Sweet Dreams again.
Cross your fingers.
Cross your fingers. So we're going to go ahead and do 5 for load music. And I will even go to the user guide. Because it is always
Last resort.
Or you could just put in a wild card, just put SWEET and an asterisk, and I'll find anything that says sweet.
which, yeah, I wonder if that would work though. Yeah, let's see. Maybe music. So I know we have it. Now let's play. And you can, when you do playback of music, you can specify how long, how fast you want it played, which 5 is average speed.
Okay.
Or if once is good enough.
Yes.
And I don't think it loaded it. So let's see.
Huh.
Let's find out.
Huh?
Thank you for studio. So let's find out what's on my disk here.
Okay.
This is a nice little command I rediscovered. It's
Directory.
list. It's sort of funny going back and
Wait. Going fast.
all right, well I can see I know that there's a way to do this to stop it.
I saw it in 2
Yeah.
seconds.
Okay, if, on the Commodore, on the Commodore, if you push the control key, it slows down the listing.
Which I hope that well, let's see if it map it correctly.
Oh, there we are.
There we go. 22.
Sweet dream. There's Billie Jean, Hail Mary.
Why don't we try?
Sweet Dreams like
Yeah.
Is
no,
it
it's
the, is
been-
it the, Betsy song?
Duh.
See where the quotes.
No, Sweet Dream, oh, that is the rhythm, your rhythm.
I don't know if it's the Eurythmics one.
Yeah, so let's see. Well, we had the Pope's funeral yesterday.
Yes.
So maybe we should do
I
Hail Mary.
I missed that. Oh
that
well.
might be a little more. So Hail Mary. This will be a Hail Mary if it loads.
Oh, it's taking some time. Maybe it's loading.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go. It's taking a little bit of time. There you go.
Could have crashed.
No, it's not crashing. It's loading.
No, it is, this is a
There it
good
is.
sign. Okay, so play music.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I
just
think
one.
once is enough.
Once is enough. Okay.
Oh, maybe.
There we go.
Oh,
Volume up. I can barely hear it. Oh, the volume's on the remote control. Ah, there you are. Wow. That's Hail Mary? Wow. Wow, very
That's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, it really shows how you can create sophisticated and long pieces of music with a SID chip. And it's
Can you look at the
fancy.
sheet music of that one you just loaded then?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you look at the
Yeah,
treble
let's
scale?
go look at them. Now, one of the things that happened with Studio 64 was they were supposed to create a sheet music player, printer, but that product never got off the ground. But here
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's listed there, yeah. Okay, now all I have to do is take quarter flash music and convert it to SID somehow. Yeah, they're from Portland. Get the sheet music there and then convert it,
Yeah.
and then you type it in, and then I can have SID music for quarter flash SID music.
So when you're doing multiple voices, when you you've entered in all your info for voice 1 and you go to voice 2, is there any way to reference back to the first one so you know where you are in the timeline to?
Yeah, well, there's one feature where you can actually go in and press the question mark button, and you can see the other voices, the notes on that voice. There were other Commodore, I think there was one other, I think EA Electronic Arts did a program where it did have multiple staffs.
Was that Music Calc?
I think it might have been, yeah.
Because Music Calc, I think it didn't use standard notation. It used like blocks or whatever, squares.
Well, certainly when we got into Commodore, to Amiga, where you did have a more resolution and more graphics capability, then you could have saw the.
My mistake. I was thinking of instant music. That's it. Instant music for the Commodore 64. I think that used blocks instead of real notation.
Yeah, there was I do remember that, and I remember the music calc, and then instant music, and so that was one of those limitations where we couldn't really do multiple staffs. I don't think it was. I think it was still an issue with the.
Yeah, I think instant music was they advertised. Yeah, use your joystick, pick up a note, place it on the staff.
Yeah, and the music entry is better in this system because you were able to use the keyboard. Now, later on in like about 84, 85, we were introduced to there were sequential circuits, is I believe the name.
There you are.
Developed a MIDI interface for the Commodore 64. You put it into the bus port. It had the circular 5-pin MIDI, and we did experiment with that for a little bit, But what happened was that there was, you know, as you know this, there was a lot of contraction in the software industry, and Entech shut its doors in the beginning of '85 before it really was able to move ahead with anything like that.
Matthew, when you say we, who are you referring to?
Well, I was as I mentioned yesterday, I was a writer. You know, I basically did all the writing, but the principal was Ray Solar, Soular. I think he's still around, but he was somebody who started out as a musician, and then the music industry went through a contraction around late '70s, early '80s, and then he discovered the Commodore 64 and got into not only just music development, but also we did a bunch of programs. The Studio 64 was the passion project, but the one that made us the most money was Management System 64, which was a database.
Okay, I've never heard of that one. Management System 64.
Yes.
Wow. No, that's an unknown one to be.
Yeah, but it was one of our better sellers because it also gave me my first experience with tech support, and most of the tech support was just turn the computer off and turn it back on. Because, yeah, we did run into memory issues, and that was the solution. So yeah, I was with Entech for, from '83 till the end. And
When was the end?
this was like January, February of '85.
Oh, not very long.
Yeah, because one of the things that happened was the computer industry
Oh, yeah.
went through a lot of contractions. There was the video game crash with '83, and
Yeah.
then that also affected a lot of software developers. So, but I think one of the interesting things was that Ray was interested in, he was more, even though we were a Commodore shop, he was more interested in the Atari ST because it had the built-in MIDI ports.
Yes.
It had MIDI in and MIDI out, so it was attractive to musicians, although the Amiga also had its musical, its MIDI capability, with the necessary expansions and stuff like that. But most people look to Amiga as for video production because of its Genlock capabilities. So it was interesting how, because it was interesting to see how music developed for PCs over the years, because we had, Commodore and Atari with those capabilities, but then when the Sound Blaster came out and we had digital to analog converters, and now the PCs can produce the same, or if not better, audio quality than Commodore and Atari and even Apple, then that really, that helped the PC boom in the mid-late 90s. Really, caused Commodore and Atari to go under in the personal computer business. So again, when you started getting good quality audio, with the one thing that was really interesting in the Studio 64 demo, and Deep Sid has all the music that was in this demo disc that we distributed. But what was also on that demo disc was some audio, some digitized voice. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, well, Studio 64 is the greatest, music software, blah, blah, blah. And that was it was digitized voice, and we were able to fit everything on a 5 1/4-inch floppy. So that was the start of digitized video, audio rather, and then of course as the technology got better, now we're all streaming music, lossless music through our phones. So it's whenever I look at this old technology, it's interesting to see the evolution from how it started from this to what we have today. And those are things I like writing about as well, not just in my profession as a technical writer, but also as a novelist with my novel Amiga. And you also got me inspired when we talked yesterday, Robert, about some ideas about how to tap back into these old...
Wait a minute. The other year, I think we were talking about even a movie script about something.
Yeah, I probably had that idea too. One of the things is that when you're a novelist, you go through a lot of different ideas, and some of them work and some of them don't. I mean, software development is the same way. Hardware development, how many things, projects get created that wind up in a boneyard, and that's what actually I call my place for uncompleted manuscripts, is I put things in the boneyard. You don't throw things away, because you could either revive ideas later, or you could find pieces of elements and use them in other stories where they work better. And like Amiga was actually ideas that I've been working on for years, and then I just found the right elements and put them together and everything clicked. So there's a very similar process for novel writing as there is for software and hardware development. There's a lot of ideas that never get to the floor. Like Commodore, I think there were a lot of what could have been when it came to technology, when they talked about RISC processors for the Amiga and stuff. So it's just a fascinating history to be a part of and to learn about. And I hope more young people come to events like this and learn about the technology that shapes their lives. And it can also answer basic questions like, why does the save icon still look like a 3.5-inch floppy?
Yeah.
So with that, I've actually got this presentation in 30 minutes.
Yes, there you go.
So, but I will open things up for questions about Studio 64, about writing, about computers, anything. Yes.
It looks like you're loading this all through a USB. Is that how did you get all the files, I guess, onto the Mini?
What the Mini does is you would get, it takes D64 files. Now with the Mini, it has two modes. It has like a carousel mode where the Mini comes with like, I think 60, how many games does it come with? It comes with a lot of games.
It's a 64.
Yeah, mine.
Yeah.
64.
Yeah, so it comes with these games. But the other thing you can do is to get out of this. Yeah. So what you would do is you could do it two ways. You could either be in this carousel mode, or you can have it boot to basic.
Oop, watch out.
So let's say we go to carousel mode.
Yeah.
So now we're back to the same thing that you got here. But then what you do is you can go to
Tools, yeah.
and then you can select boot mode. And classic will let you boot to basic.
Go back.
Or you go to switch to classic mode. now you're in C64
Right.
Basic. So what you do is you format your USB stick in, let's see, a FAT32 format.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you can do
Media access.
Yes, you go media access, and then these are D64 files.
Uh-huh.
And I think they also take some other Commodore disk formats. But you selected, it's the same idea as putting a floppy disk
Uh-huh.
into the drive.
Yeah.
And now you can go ahead and now it runs just like Commodore Basic.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
There it is. So you are still looking for the later version of Studio 64?
Yes.
Have you checked all the usual websites like csdb.dk?
I've looked at all the various ones. Whenever I bring up, first of all, just finding version 1 of Studio 64 is a tough thing. It's not a best-selling product, so, and it also has copy protection. So it was a real challenge to find that the D64 for it. Now, I did save a lot of discs, and you probably saw them at my corner table. A lot of them, I don't know what happened. I had the presence of mind of saving a lot of my important data disks.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that some of them are still, a number of them are still readable, which amazed me. But the thing that I still have problems with is finding a lot of program disks. So I know that I have Studio 64s, that second edition somewhere. And then once I find it, it would be a matter of transferring it to a D64 file and putting it on the USB stick. So it's always a real challenge because we collect, certainly we have thousands
Oh, yeah.
of floppy disks.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they could be like baseball cards. We could throw a lot of them away. So it's a matter of finding that, and there's probably some corners that it's buried somewhere. Along with the manual, because I kept all of my user manuals that I've written, so at the very least there should be a Studio 64 user's manual that I did.
Other questions? Oh yes, go ahead, Andrew.
Is that device, is that run on an FPGA?
No, that is not FPGA.
Software, it's software emulation.
So what's
It's
the chip?
it's a is it a PIC? A PIC?
Pass me that box.
I forget what
Yeah.
it is. It's not a FPGA.
I'm not entirely sure.
Because I was wondering if you probably could run a lot of other computer systems.
Good.
You could probably run an Apple IIc,
Yes.
or a Commodore.
Well, the challenge of these emulators is to find the ROMs that are necessary to run.
Yeah.
Because emulation itself is difficult of getting the ROMs, so it's a challenge. There are software emulators like Commodore 64. And Toronto has a C64 for every product as well.
Right.
So it's a matter of getting the emulation software, but also getting the ROMs. Like our last presenter yesterday was, and I think a few other, I think you were showing Amiga emulators. Their UAE is On the Mac, I have FS and that works really well. And I was really happy to see that it does run, it still runs on my Apple Silicon Macs as well as the Intel ones that I had last time. But again, the challenge is to get the ROMs. And I had Amiga forever, so that's a good source for it.
Other questions? Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. And if you're interested, I have my novels here on sale. You could also pick up a bookmark. Gives you links to all my other books. And I want to it's great to be back.
Yay!
Yeah.